A genuine objection to slaying. If you refrain from taking part in battle because you are frightened of service, or because you are sentimental, you are not the kind of person who really has a right to abstain from battle. Now, why does he say this? The reason is that to the Hindu mind, one who abstains from what might be an evil action through fear has not really liberated himself from evil. Krishna would say that so long as our conduct is motivated by fear on the one hand, or by desire on the other, we are incapable of performing a truly moral action. Only those actions are truly moral which are unmotivated. Because if you are motivated to do good by fear, your good may, under other circumstances, be evil. This is the case with Arjuna. He wants to refrain from war for the same reason for which many other people would engage in war. Many people engage in war because they're afraid, and not at all because they hate. The world situation at the present time might be said to be a situation of mutual fear, where the only reason why someone might start a war would be for fear of the other side starting it first. After all, we all know now that modern warfare is something in which neither side wins. It is then fear more than anything else. Fear that the other fellow should send the bombs over first is what starts a war. And thus you see, fear is no deterrent to war at all. A person whose reluctance to fight is based on fear or squeamishness does not, then, in Krishna's view, have the right to renounce it. And you see here, the view is one which would probably commend itself to a man like Gandhi. Because you could turn it round in the other way and say that a person who has to take the step of being a non-violent man, a man of peace, a pacifist, he would have his vocation and his duty to do in exactly the same way as the Kshatriya, the warrior. He must not be non-violent on sentimental grounds, but rather because he sees it as his svadharma, that is to say, his vocation in life. And so a moment later, Krishna formulates the principle of action. He says, "Therefore arise, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, resolved on battle, treating alike pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat. To action alone hast thou a right, never at all to its fruits. Let not the fruits of action be thy motive, neither let there be in thee any attachment to inaction. Fixed in yoga, that is to say, in union with the principle, with the self, do thy work, O winner of wealth, abandoning attachment, with an even mind in success and failure, for evenness of mind is called yoga. One who has yoked his intelligence with the divine casts away even here both good and evil. Therefore strive for yoga. Yoga is skill in action." The principle, you see, which he enunciates is to act without attachment to the fruits of action. To do what you have to do without seeking either evil or good from it. Now, this is simply another way of saying to act without motive. It seems, of course, from our point of view, impossible that a human being should act without motive. In our Western way of thinking about ethics, we judge the quality of an action by the quality of the motive. And the whole notion of an action without a motive at all seems to be extraordinarily foreign to us. But as a matter of fact, if there is no such thing as an action without motive, there is no such thing as a free or moral action. Because so long as we have a motive, our actions are not actions, they're simply reactions. Surely it's obvious that our motives are determined by our conditioning, by our environment, our heredity, our social structure. They give us motives, and these motives of the past determine the way in which we act. Now, if my motive for doing good is for the sake of some sort of a reward, whether it's in the ancient sense of going to heaven or the modern sense of being a real person or a regular guy, or whether it's a fear in the ancient sense of going to hell or in the modern sense of being a cad, I act motivatedly. And therefore the things which I do by way of moral action are not actually free. If, as we in the West have rather inconsistently but nevertheless rightly insisted, a moral man must be a free man must be an unmotivated man. In Western Christianity, it has always been thought that there is only one unmotivated being, and this would be God. In the words of the ancient hymn in the Catholic Breviary, God is creation's secret force, thyself unmoved, all motion's source. God, then, would be the one who would act without motive, who would act spontaneously from himself without having to be pushed around. The point, you see, of the Hindu teaching is that in reality, each one of us is that unmoved one, that unmotivated one. The root and ground of our soul and mind is the same as the root and ground of this whole universe. Therefore, one in whom this is fully realized can act in an unmotivated way. In studying the philosophy of the Hindus, we have to get used to the idea that it's really an illusion to suppose that every event is motivated, determined, or caused by the past. What they call karma, or causation by the past, is in fact maya, or unreality. For in the Hindu philosophy, the present of the universe, or the eternal now of the universe, is not the consequence of its past, but rather the past is always the consequence of the present, of the eternal now. It trails behind it like the wake of a ship. It does not stand before it and push it. And thus, it is through the realization that he is that eternal now, not his past, that Arjuna is able to act in a free way, in an unmotivated way, and thus go into battle, not because he is moved to fight by hate, by squeamishness or fear, but because he carries out his appointed place in a society in which it's his vocation to be a warrior. We may think it regrettable that societies exist in which there is a vocation to be a warrior, but let's not be sentimental in this respect also, because every one of us is unable to live at all without killing something. Some of us would like to rule out altogether the killing of our fellow men. But you see, in the Hindu view of life, there isn't this rigid distinction between man on the one hand and animals and plants on the other, which exists for us in the West. Therefore, there are times in the Hindu view when killing is an unavoidable condition of being alive. And this is one of the problems which the Gita sets itself to solve. In 1925, Mahatma Gandhi wrote the following words.
The Lightworker's Handbook, Lesson 1, Discovering Your Spirituality. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Services. I am aware of where we are. This is a temple built to honor the majesty of the human being. This is a place that is sacred, honoring what is intuitively known about the magnificence inside each of you. It is a place that is dedicated to the love of God, to the love of humanity, and the compassionate teachings of peace on earth. It is dedicated to peace inside. So let it not be lost on any who are listening or reading this that this is a sacred place, and this is where we begin this message, a perfect place for it. When you have this situation, you have energy that emanates even from the chairs you sit in. There is the energy from the walls, from the floor, from the very stones that are here, and all that they represent in their power and synchronicity, singing the same song. The elements know who you are. Oh, dear ones, is that too esoteric for some of you? Because some of you are overwhelmed, perhaps, with the energy of the entourage that floods into this place, not even being aware of the other entourage that has always been here. The elements that have gone into the building of this place know who you are, and some of them are old, culled from the forest that are older than you are, yet they know who you are. You see, you are a piece of God, the angelic realm, the creative force of the planet, and they see you differently than you see yourselves. They don't see what you see in the mirror, for they feel an angelic presence has entered the room. They wonder what the angel conclave is today that would bring such an energy in here. They hear and see your magnificence. They're singing a grand song, and you can't even hear it, but I can. I always can. You don't even know who you are, really. And it's designed that way, human being. The design is one that calls upon your free choice to come up with answers. The task, as you sit in a chair, is if you can awaken spiritually to the point where you can chip away at the wall that separates you from God. It is called the duality, and it represents the free will of a human being, ready to tear down an invisible and elusive wall, one that is unseen to many, but that is part of spiritual awareness. It is a wall, when broached, that will then reveal the secrets of life and why you are here. And that, dear one, is what we want to speak of tonight. So let's make some things perfectly clear even before we begin. First, I am Kryon. I know where I am, and I know what has transpired in this place, and I am in awe of it. There is a purity within the guidance for those who have built this and the things that are taking place here. There are lives that have been saved here. I tell you what that means in a minute. I speak to a group of old souls. There is no first-timer here. Every single one of you has been here before. All of you have an Akashic record that is lengthy. There are Lemurians in the room. There are those who have come out of the mystery schools into the room. I have shamans in the room. There are profound healing techniques in the room, and there are those who have healed themselves in the room, and those who want to be in the room. Let it be known, dear human being, that you have placed yourselves in this temple with free choice. You have the ability to walk out of this place differently than you came in, every single one of you, no matter where you are on the path. Synchronistically, you have created a situation for yourself, and so here I am. So I say to you, may the solutions be brought forward to what you came for, and the knowledge be yours of the questions that are on the top of your tongue, for they are personal, and they are unique to you and your path, and they are ready to be dealt with. Indeed, it's a good time for healing. There is no better time, and you have come to the right place. There are many on earth who are awakening. Be aware of this. As ancient as you all are, some in this room have only just discovered the premise of awakening to a grander God. Many have felt it indeed. They knew somehow that they were spiritual beings, but they come here brand new, never having heard anything about what we speak. We have the big picture, and we know who you are. Each time you arrive on earth, you get to examine if the esoteric things are for you or not. Many of you seem to have been born into these kinds of examinations of the esoteric. Early on, you rejected what was given to you as the spirituality of your family, or the way things work, and you pursued your own course, some of you at the expense of your family's love. You see, I know who's here and who's reading. Don't you think we walk the walk with you? Don't you think the angels were there during the disruption and frustrations? Don't you think you saw the tears? Don't you think we were there when you cried out for help? We were there. I know who's here. Humanity awakens in different times and in different ways. The old souls on this planet are starting to awaken en masse due to the shift that we have been explaining for almost 2 decades. But so many of them do not know where to turn or what to do. They get excited and ask, where's the beginning of the information? Where's the knowledge? How can I get up to speed? Where's the primer I can turn to? I have given my partner Lee much information now for 18 years, given much like he is doing today. He sits before human beings and he speaks my communications, translated into this language so it's comfortable for him and readable by you. These are the words of Kryon, and through that period of time there has been so much covered. Much of it is graduate information, and much of it is core information, all intermingled depending on the group that is sitting before me. But for one who is awakening in this massive shift, there is no primer, no starting point, no premise to build a basis on. Truly, you could start at Kryon Book 1, which I asked my partner to name The End Times. But that was a cryptic time for him, and he was learning how to channel. He was not within the meld with me as he is now. It was also communication for 1989 and not today. So the message was not as clear as today, not like it is now. It was not as personal, not like it is now. So today we embark upon a task that I've told my partner we would do. There is to be a multi-chaptered primer that may never be a physical book, but which has a name like one. It shall represent instruction sets for those who wish to start at the beginning. The channeling this evening, therefore, will be a core information, Lesson 1, that takes the reader to the beginning of this new energy and all that goes with it. This is where it begins. This is where the human will come to discover the premise. This is also what some of you need as a refresher, for there is some information that you don't know that will be presented tonight. So we say it begins, and this channel, which has been transcribed, is one we wish to call the first chapter of the primer. We call it Realizing Your Own Spirituality. Truth, the basis for belief and action. Before we even begin the teaching, we have to discuss a premise we have discussed one time before. What is truth? In your own reality, within the perception walls you build around your mind called 3D, there are absolutes in truth, in math and in science. When you begin to break those three-dimensional walls down and get into the system of interdimensional things, and especially spiritual things, all the rules of reality change. So what I'm about to tell you, you may not sit well with all of you, for you will weigh them in a 3D way instead of a multiple D way, because of the way your mind works. Truth is relative to your path and is multiple. Many will immediately say, Kryon, we don't like that. There has to be one truth, for truth sets the stage for the direction of the human search for God. Therefore, there can only be one truth and only one God. Does one God mean one truth, or could you indeed see many roads to the one God? When you get to the other side of the veil in death, don't be shocked to find others there who are not part of your church or your truth. Instead, there are many truths, and with pure intent. They are all passionate roads that lead to God and the family of God. For those who demand there only be one truth, I'll give you one. Indeed, there is a generic truth, a core truth, and it is this: that at the center of every atom in the universe of yours, you will find the love of God in a personal way. That's the core energy. That's the truth. But you might say, well, how sweet. And I will say, oh no, I'm not talking about sweet. I'm talking about physics. There is an energy at the core of every atom that makes things work. And when you remove the energy of God, it all collapses. You might say it's the space between the electron haze and the nucleus of the atom that keeps things moving and separated. It represents more than you'll ever measure, more than you'll ever know. It's basic physics, and it's the love of God. That's the core truth, and scientists are on the verge of realizing it. They will call it something else, but there will be the realization of an intelligent force keeping things running. Here is a definition of truth. It is when a human being marries his heart to the passion of God and creates discovery. It is an acknowledgement of a personal search, if you wish, without knowing anything more. It is a willingness, with free choice, to find out about God inside. That's truth, so therefore you have multiple truths as you go around the room from multiple human beings. But again, a human doesn't necessarily like that. You say, well, there must be one truth, one doctrine, one building. And we say, well, how 3D of you. The linearity of your existence has been placed on God, and you have decided to make a 3D God. This then matches your human experience. Don't you see how limiting this is? It is the cartoon character coming to life, stepping off the 2D page and meeting a human. But he screams in confusion and frustration, seeing 3D for the first time. He can't cope with it and doesn't understand it, for it doesn't make any sense. Therefore, he returns to his domain on his page and draws humans in 2D, so he can make sense of it all. You are then rendered as a 2D drawing due to the limitations of the observer. Inside each of you, you will discover the family. This family is the intuitive group that makes up the whole of God. At the core of the family is the same system of interdimensional workings, and it comes from the love of God and the compassion of what you call spirit. Therefore, your truth is what you are doing when you follow your passion to create manifestation in your life. What most human beings do not and will not understand is that this system is the glue between your many truths. It's difficult to explain in 3D, isn't it? But between the multiple truth of your quest for what you're supposed to do is a glue of knowledge and synchronicity, all working together with the potential of the system to make things happen in 3D. There is more than it seems here. The beginning premise. So let us begin with the premise. You are not looking for a doctrine, you are not looking for a prophet. You are stepping off the page of 3D belief, of following others within a generic box of belief, and are instead risking the idea that God is far bigger than anything you've ever been told. You're looking for what you are here for, and the premise is that the search will reveal to you not only your own path, but also that you are part of a grand system. It's an interdimensional system of how things work and is intuitive and shared by others all over the world. It's innate, meaning built into the cells of humanity. It is magnificent and will also reveal God inside you to the extent that you can become your own prophet, your own master, revealing divinity within your own eternal existence. It will bring you to the realization that you have lived before, and that this is absolutely a staple of the system, not odd or weird, but rather a wise observation of how it all fits. It will fly in the face of those who are steeped in a 3D mythology given to them by those who existed in a far less enlightened time and energy on the planet. Do not be critical on yourselves if you do not then follow what you are told by another human being or organization, by what they think is appropriate spirituality, for their truth is different than yours. Their search for God is different than yours. Blessed is the human being who searches for God in any way at all. Blessed is the human who sits ready to go and who says, God, tell me what it is I need to know. I want to chip away at the wall, the duality between 3D and multiple D. I want to chip away at the wall to find my own magnificence. I know it's there. I can feel it. Show me the path to my own revelation. When a human being is following his truth, it's his passion for God he is discovering. It's a path for his own personal discovery to find God in his life. That's truth. It's diverse since there are so many individual paths for humans. Each human being is spiritually unique. One is working on abundance issues, one is working on health issues, one is working on self-worth issues, and one is battling fear. Many of these paths are a result of the past experience of humans on Earth in different expressions or past lives, creating the vast differences of personalities at birth, their strength and challenges, their many phobias and their gifts. Do you see how you cannot create a spiritual box and ask everyone to get in? The new energy and what happened. And so the journey begins. What is this new age all about? What is this great shift? We start at the beginning, and the beginning is not all that far in the past. In your time frame, it is only 1987. That's all the further I'm going to go back, because that is the beginning of this energy, the one that allowed Kryon to manifest as a teacher, and everything before it was an older, denser energy. It was an old energy whose prophecies have dropped away. Did you notice the earth energy is different today? The old energy represented an earth that is now gone, if you've noticed. So this information is for the one who is studying this for the first time and needs to hear it from the beginning. In 1987, an event occurred that was unique in your history. It was called the harmonic convergence, and also later called the 1111. What was unique was esoteric. The earth had reached a vibratory rate of spiritual neutrality, where the future could go either way. It could be pulled to a higher level, an interdimensional level, or wallow in the old prophecies of doom and Armageddon. Out of your linear time, and hard for you to understand, all of the higher selves involved in the system of Earth were polled. All the human beings that have ever been on the planet, are on the planet, and potentially will be on the planet, were asked this question. Do you want to go through with the old energy prophecy, the potentials of the old, or do you wish to move into the new energy that the ancients told you was coming? It is an energy that is not in your current prophecy, something that will create peace on earth, something that will create work for the Lemurians who are here and the old souls who are here. It will create spiritual lighthouses who will awaken in large number. What is your choice? And the answer was, we want to go forward. And as dramatic proof of this esoteric event, almost overnight, within a few years of this event, the geopolitical structure of the planet changed and morphed into something nobody expected. Against all odds and all prophecy, countries who were powerful players of the old end-time scenario changed greatly, the Soviet Union in particular. You were suddenly looking at a reality that no one had prophesied. No Cold War, the very thing that had created 50 years of turmoil, fear, and had no foreseeable end, had suddenly terminated itself. The time for the scheduled Armageddon came and went. Then you received a challenging event in 2001 called 9/11. It was not in prophecy, not in Nostradamus, not in scriptures or revelation. As I told the United Nations group 2 years ago, the 9/11 event will affect 2 generations of what your leadership does here. Don't you think something so important would have been in your old prophecies? This is proof that you're in a new future, and so we say again. The harmonic convergence of 1987, along with the harmonic concordance in the following years, are bookends to the changing, shifting energy that you've created all by yourself. Now here you sit with a totally new energy. So if you're reading this for the first time and you want to know what it means to you, read carefully and listen to the logic as it goes forward. Here you sit in a changing earth when it was never prophesied. You might say, what do I do to make the difference, and how can I shift? And I will tell you, especially if you are new, the very act of asking the question is shifting the earth. Blessed is the human being who asks, what can I do? What is next? For by this act of compassion for the planet, they are showing within their own selves that they have started chipping the wall. Is that you? If so, then you are asking for the steps of ascension, are you not? Yet I'm not going to give them to you because there are no steps. Or perhaps there may be one, begin. And so we see that the human being who begins the journey of asking, how do I chip away at the wall, already has the pickaxe in his hand, already is working the puzzle, and already some light is showing through. The changing system of karma. I would like to again explain what is happening regarding karma. This is an old spiritual process that will always be with you and the planet Earth. It is described very succinctly within some of the oldest belief systems on the planet, still true to this day. It's an energy system that will be in place and will operate all by itself, just like so many other things about the energy of life. Even if the human being does nothing at all to see it or recognize it, it is still present and will affect what the human does. Important, Individual humans are not predestined to do anything on Earth. There's no predetermined path or predestination. Instead, by default, they are predisposed to follow a karmic path that they do simply because it's there, and they come into the planet with the emotional equipment to follow it automatically. Let me explain this. So many things are in the works at this moment, including your own free choice, not to have free choice. You're in a battle right now, and indeed, if you allow consciousness to shift into a backward situation, even an enlightened, vibrating Earth can have free will dictate that it will no longer have free will. It would be like taking a vote not to allow any more voting. That is how powerful you are. You are angels, and you can create whatever it is on Earth that you wish to create. The darkest dark and the lightest light are both on your palette of energy colors. Whatever it is you wish, you may do. It is a critical time. Things have changed. The old prophecies of what you were told would happen have dropped away and been replaced by free choice of the moment. The Mayans have given you the information that 2012 is the beginning of the upsurge of a vibratory change in the planet, a new beginning energy. It has an 1111 energy. Indeed, the 2012 is alive with 1111. The 1111 that many of you see on the clocks is all about the promise of the 2012 transition into a more positive energy, the beginning of a new paradigm. You may very well sail into 2012 with the ability to have the Earth support you in a way that it never has before. Changes are afoot that you know nothing about, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Every human being who is born into this planet immediately gets a karmic imprint. He comes in and delivers his crystal into the cave of creation. The crystal is a memory energy that aligns to the crystalline grid. It is a part of Gaia, and Gaia, therefore, knows he is here. So it is with all of you. When you come into this planet, karmic energy is deposited into your DNA, and you start the energy there. Karmic energy is an energy that is part of the system that we speak of, that is Earth life force. This is the one where the human being chooses no esoteric path, but just follows a groove of existing karma, created by past energies and expressions on the planet with others. Often humans are born into a place where they were the last time. Often they follow their family's direction, or whatever their family does, they do. If their family are farmers, they are farmers. It's the most natural thing for them to do, and it's an easy decision. It's like a road that is wonderful to walk on without rocks, so this is their karmic path. This path often takes them into challenge because of what has happened in lives that happened before. Often it will redo and undo itself as karmic energy unfolds. Many of the energies of the yin and yang are then manifested. It is true indeed that what goes around comes around. And that is all part of the very old system under a very old spiritual vibration, one that is automatic. But it doesn't have to be yours. Listen, for this is where it gets good. In 1989, I began telling you that in this new energy you had the opportunity, if not the demand, to get out of karma and get on the road of your own choice. For as an old soul, one with magnificence inside, you have the ability to get out of the groove. You can take that old karma and place it aside and replace it with something far higher in energy, an energy with intended spiritual direction for you and the planet. You would say, I wish to make my own creation, my own reality, and not the old setup of karma I came with. Have you heard the phrase, creating your own reality? And this is what it means. And the harmonic convergence gave you that power. In 1989, I arrived with my partner and we started channeling that you would create a situation where you void your karma and move into your own free choice and create the life lesson that you came for. We spoke of an implant, which we never speak of anymore. We never speak of it because now we've reinterpreted to mean the implantation of permission to get out of the groove. You implant yourself with passion and truth and you move forward, out of karma and instead into a place where you have choice of the energy that you create through pure intent. Karma is interesting. Here is something you haven't thought of, human being. The profundity of karma. I'm looking at souls in this room. In this room where there are 8 of you who are alive today because you got out of karma. Had you stayed in the karmic groove that you were born in and done the things that everyone wanted you to do and followed the karmic road, you wouldn't be here today. This is because your potential karmic appointed you with death, would have taken you. You would have been in the karmic place and time to experience your potential death. But because you popped out of the groove and manifested your own life experience, all the karmic attributes of your death fall away. Now here you sit, in charge of when you come and when you go, 8 of you. And here is where human puzzles us on my side of the veil, because I just given you the truth that is powerful and joyful, and you should celebrate it. You ought to build a statue right now to the death you move past, but you don't. You don't know what didn't happen, do you? Well, I do. Who is it who is in control over death? What have you been told about this? Who is the Grim Reaper? Well, no matter what you've been told, I'll tell you who the Grim Reaper is. It is the human who decides never to look for God. It's a human who just shows up and plays no part in his destiny, just walking the path of karma, including wandering right into his death. There's no judgment of any humans who do this, only a report of what it is. But 8 of you would not be here sitting in the chairs had it not been for your leaving the road of karma. Congratulations, family, for you know what this is all about. So for the beginner, we say that you can move aside the karma you were born with and start creating your own reality. This is a new gift with this energy. It allows you to move into the consciousness of a new kind of human being who chooses their own destiny. Some call it ascension status, a move into an energy of creation itself. So the next question, of course, is, Kryon, what do I do next? The answer is the hardest thing of all. Have patience with the system. Humans don't do that well. Patience for the system to catch up to your choice is needed. If you are new and you're just beginning to understand and hear this message, the first thing you're going to want to do is to go and climb the steps. You're going to want to do something with your knowledge and your passion and your excitement. You wish to do something in 3D. The old paradigm has you doing something physical in order to manifest something spiritual. It's been in your history and it's part of your mythology. But that's not the way it works in this new energy. We know who you are and what you're attempting to do. Every truth is unique, and your truth may be to start a ball